Hi, Dave Jones here again, carrying on with the theory lessons. What I want to look at now is, I think it's a really useful thing for guitar players, is a thing called transposition. Now, transposing a chord progression means that you're rewriting the original chord progression in a different key. So you're changing the key that it's written in. The type of chords in the key remain the same. So if you're transposing a major chord to a different key, it will stay a major chord. If you're transposing a minor or a dominant chord to a different key, it will remain a minor or a dominant. It's just the letter name that changes, and all the chords will remain, the relationship to each other will remain the same. It's just that the key center and the overall pitch of it that changes. It's an essential skill for guitar players because it means that you can change any song into any key. For example, to suit a singer's voice, if you're in a band and you're doing a cover version of a song and your singer can't quite reach the notes of the original song, you can transpose it and change it down into a lower key to suit your singer's voice. Or sometimes you might have to transpose, depending on what you do. If you're going to play, sometimes playing with a horn player, you might want to transpose into a different key because that, I don't play any horns like saxophone or anything, but it suits sometimes better in a different key. And the best way to transpose, which is why I've mentioned it in previous lessons if you've been following them, is to use what's called the Roman numeral system. As we were doing the C major chord sequence, when we were harmonising the C major scale, I said C becomes the 1, D minor's the 2 chord, E minor's 3, F major's 4, G major's 5, A minor's 6. Then you've got your B diminished or your B minor 7 flat 5 when we did it to the 7ths, and then back to C major again. So you've got the Roman numeral system, and each chord has its own position in that key. So if a chord sequence, for example, I'll just pull one out, and like I say, this sheet's up on the website so you'll get more out of following. But if a chord sequence starts with C, D minor, G, C, so you're strumming a song, C, D minor, G, C. Then what happens when you transpose it is you put it in a different key. For argument's sake, we're going to move it to G. What happens is you have to find the corresponding chords, the number names, Roman numeral numbers in G. So in C, C is the 1 chord, D is the 2 chord. Now sometimes in different publications, sometimes the 2 chord is written as a lowercase Roman numeral. So like instead of having 2 capitalised on a keyboard, a computer keyboard I'm talking about now, it will have 2 lowercase i's. Or other publications have 2, big case 2, with a little m, 2 minor, to let you know it's a minor chord. So that chord sequence I mentioned goes C, D minor, G, C. So that's the 1 chord, the 2 minor, the 5 chord, and then the 1 chord again. Now, after that, if we want to transpose it into the key of G, we just have to go to the G major scale, and we know how to harmonise it now. The G is the 1 chord, the 2 chord or 2 minor chord is A minor, the 5 chord is D, and the 1 chord is G again. So if I just strum through that chord sequence, the original one, C, and then I'll show you it in G. So in C we've got a 1, 2 minor, 5, 1. So C, D minor, G, C. So that's in the key of C, and we need to transpose it into the key of G. We've got the 1 chord G, 2 minor A, 5 D, 1 G. So hopefully you can hear that that's changed key, but the chords' relationship to each other has remained the same. So if you had a singer singing over that song, or if you had someone who wanted to improvise in it on a different instrument and they couldn't play it in that key, or for whatever reason, you could play exactly the same song in a different key to suit whatever you want to do. So that's really useful. You often find that original songs might be in this key and you think, I don't really want to do it in that key, it doesn't suit my voice or it doesn't suit so-and-so's voice, so I need to transpose it. So it's a really useful thing, and it works in absolutely any key. And it also works with extended chords. So if you've got the sheet there, I've written out there, say for example we had a chord sequence that went G major 7, so I'm extending the 7 now, G major 7, B minor 7, E minor 7, A minor 7, D minor 7, D7, G major 7. It won't, the type of chord won't change. So if we transposed it into D, the key of D, when we were in the first key, G, major 7, G major 7 was the 1 chord, B minor 7 was the 3 minor chord, E minor 7 was the 6 minor chord, A minor 7 the 2 minor chord, and D7 was the 5 or dominant 7 chord, 5, 7, and then back to the G again. So we're going to transpose it into D. So the type of chord will remain the same, just as it did major and minor. The first chord was a major 7, it will stay a major 7. The second chord was a minor 7, it will stay a minor 7. So we'd now have D major 7, the 1 chord. Our 3 minor will be F sharp minor 7. Our 6 chord will be B minor 7. Our 2 chord will be E minor 7. And our 5 chord will be A7. So again, if I play through the 2 sequences and I'll transpose it and then play through it again, you should hear the relationship between the chords changes but the keys change. Here's the first one in G. Okay, so we're transposing it into D now. D's now the 1 chord. So you can hear everything remains exactly the same. You can transpose into any key. When you first start, you're probably better off writing it down on a piece of paper, which is the 1, which is the 2, etc., and then going down. I will put a transposition chart up actually on the site. And exactly the same method is applied if you're transposing in a minor key. You just write out in the minor, the 1's the minor, etc., and then so if we go from A minor to, for argument's sake, to E minor. A minor was the 1, E minor will now be the 1. So if D minor on A minor was the 4, in the key of E minor, A minor will be the 4. And you just write them out and you can transpose into any key, from a major key to another major key and a minor key to a minor key. You can't transpose from a major key to a minor key. If your song's in a major key, whatever key you transpose it into, it will always stay in a major key, and everything else stays the same. The minors and the minor 7s and the 7s, they're exactly the same. It's just the letter name, the first letter name that changes. And if you're in a minor key, if you transpose it, you can only transpose it into another minor key, and again, the letter names stay the same. So it's a very useful technique, and can really help if you want to change songs into different keys. So I hope you find that useful, and I'll see you again sometime.